That Omaha Steaks gift box arrives looking like a promise, the insulated cooler, the dry ice, the logo that's been on American holiday tables since before your parents were born. The whole thing is engineered to feel like someone spent real money on you, and a lot of times they did. What isn't on the box? The USDA grade of the beef inside it. Not prime, not choice, not select, nothing. The company has been selling premium beef for over 100 years, and they will not tell you, have never told you, what quality tier you're actually getting. That's the first thing. There are 3 more. To understand what Omaha Steaks is selling you today, you have to understand what they were actually selling 100 years ago, because the mythology and the reality have been drifting apart for a long time. J.J. Simon and his son B.A. were Jewish butchers from Riga, Latvia. They fled anti-Semitism in 1898, passed through Ellis Island, boarded a train headed west, and got off when the land looked like home. They chose Omaha because Nebraska's meat industry reminded them of the trade they knew. They worked for other people for nearly 20 years before founding their own company in 1917. The name came from frugality. They bought an old carpentry shop called Table Supply Company and couldn't afford a new sign. B.A. slid the Co. 2 letters to the right, inserted the word meat, and opened Table Supply Meat Company. That kind of resourcefulness. Genuine, earned, immigrant work ethic resourcefulness is the actual foundation of the brand. The big break came in the 1940s when B.A.'s son Lester brokered a deal with the Union Pacific Railroad to serve their beef in the dining cars of transcontinental trains traveling between Omaha and Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle. Passengers tasted the beef at dinner and asked if they could order it for home. That request, from people on a train who just had a genuinely good steak, is how mail-order beef was invented. Omaha Steaks started shipping orders packed in dry ice in wax-lined cardboard boxes in 1952. Their first New Yorker ad ran in 1958. They're still the longest-running advertiser in that publication. The company wasn't called Omaha Steaks until 1966. For nearly 50 years, it was Table Supply Meat Company. The name changed because by the 1960s, passengers who'd eaten the beef on those trains had been telling people for 2 decades that they'd had Omaha Steaks, and that reputation had spread nationwide. The Simon family didn't name the brand and then build a reputation around it. The reputation came first, customers named the product, and the company eventually caught up. The name Omaha Steaks was earned by the beef, and now the beef hides behind the name. That's a real American story. Immigrants, a family trade, a railroad deal, and a product so good that strangers on a train named it for you. The question, the one the company has been quietly avoiding for decades, is whether the beef in the box today is the same quality as the beef that made those passengers ask. USD. A grading runs on one primary criterion, marbling. The intramuscular fat running through muscle tissue determines how rich, juicy, and flavorful a steak will be when it hits heat. Prime is the top tier, found in roughly 2 to 5% of all graded beef in the United States, mostly sold to restaurants and hotels. Choice is what a good butcher counter carries. Select is below that. Leaner, less marbling, noticeably less flavor and tenderness. Most serious butchers won't stock Select because the eating experience doesn't justify calling it a premium steak. Go to Omaha Steaks' website right now and try to find their USDA grade. Try to find Prime, Choice, or Select anywhere in a product description. It isn't there. It has never been there. Their own website explains this away by saying the USDA grade is only one small factor in their selection process. They claim a proprietary grading system, 5 variables of which marbling is just one, developed before the USDA's system even existed. They've been doing it their own way since 1917, they say. No outside verification needed. That's a smooth answer. What it means in practice is that Omaha Steaks replaced a publicly verifiable, independently graded standard with a private internal system. And the reason they did it, based on every independent review and food journalist who has dug into this, is that the grade on most of their product would not support the premium positioning the entire business is built on. One reviewer who's been ordering from them since the 1980s put it plainly. I ask every time I happen to be on the phone. I always get the same answer. We give you a 100% satisfaction guarantee. End of topic. What they do publish is a certification called USDA Certified Tender. They announced it in September 2024 as a prestigious designation. Their CEO called it highly sought after. It sounds like a grade. It's a sheer force test. A machine cuts the steak and measures how much resistance it encounters. If the steak passes, it gets the stamp. There is no marbling standard attached to it, no quality tier, no flavor requirement. It tells you the steak is mechanically easy to cut. It tells you nothing about whether it tastes like a steak you'd pay a premium for. USDA certified tender is not prime. It's not choice. It's a tenderness marketing claim sitting in the exact place on the product page where the grade should be. And that substitution is not an accident. You may well be paying prime prices for choice beef or choice prices for select. The company knows what you're getting. They've decided you don't need to. Before you buy any mail order beef, ask one question. What's the USDA grade? Prime, choice, or select? If the website won't answer that directly, or replaces it with a certification you've never heard of, that's your answer. A company selling genuinely premium beef publishes the grade because the grade is part of why you're paying what you're paying. Omaha Steaks describes their beef as grass-fed, grain-finished. Read it quickly, and it sounds like a quality commitment: grass-fed, natural, open pasture. In 2016, the USDA quietly withdrew its official definition of grass-fed. The agency responsible for defining the standard stopped defining it. What that means in practice is that any manufacturer can put grass-fed on a label as long as the animal ate some grass at some point in its life, which almost all American cattle do in their early months, before they're shipped to feedlots and grain-finished for their last 3 to 6 months, fattened on corn and soy to build weight and marbling efficiently. Omaha Steaks at least uses the full phrase grass-fed, grain-finished, which tells you the animal did go through a feedlot, but the grass-fed lead still carries marketing weight it hasn't earned. It creates associations: open pasture, natural diet, careful animal husbandry, that a commodity feedlot operation doesn't deliver on. True grass-finished beef, from animals raised on pasture their entire lives without grain, has a meaningfully different nutritional profile and a distinctly different flavor. It has higher omega-3 fatty acid content and conjugated linoleic acid. It's also leaner, which is partly why the industry switched to grain finishing decades ago. Grain-finished cattle marble faster and produce the rich, buttery eating experience most American consumers expect. There's nothing wrong with grain-finished beef. The issue is that grass-fed implies something about the animal's life that grain-finished directly contradicts. The first word does pastoral imagery work. The second word tells you what actually happened. Then, there's where the beef actually comes from. Omaha is a city in Nebraska. It has never been a sourcing guarantee. Until January 1st of this year, 2026, beef imported from Australia or South America could be shipped to a USDA-inspected facility in the United States, processed there, and legally labeled Product of USA. That loophole, which allowed imported beef to wear an American flag as long as it was touched by American hands at some point, was only closed by a new USDA rule, requiring animals to be born, raised, slaughtered, and processed in the United States to carry that label. The marketing image is Nebraska. How long the beef on your table has actually spent in Nebraska is a question the company has never been required to answer and never volunteered to. This is the one that generates the most consumer complaints. and it has everything to do with how the bundle is built. The Omaha Steaks business model runs on an introductory offer, a bundle listed at a retail value of $200, $250, $280, offered to new customers for $79.99. The discount looks too good to pass up, so you order. What a significant number of customers discover is that the bundle is built around a very specific economic logic. The steaks, the filet mignons, the ribeyes, the cuts that put Omaha Steaks on the box are why you open it. The hot dogs, the caramel apple tartlets, the chicken breasts, the gourmet jumbo franks are where the margin lives. You're paying steak category money for a mixed box where a significant portion of the contents costs very little to produce. Multiple consumer analyses have found that Omaha Steaks bundles priced around $80 to $100 contain actual market value closer to $35 to $40 when individual items are priced against comparable grocery market options. The listed retail value is Omaha Steaks' own retail price, which is itself set to make the bundle discount look dramatic. The $280 retail value isn't what the food is worth at the grocery store. It's the price Omaha Steaks set before discounting it to $79.99. The portions have gotten smaller over time. Multiple customers and reviewers describe filet mignons that are 4 to 5 ounces, closer to a tasting portion than a dinner portion. The steaks are sold by count, not by weight. 8 filet mignons sounds generous. What those 8 pieces weigh and what that translates to in price per ounce versus a real butcher counter is information that isn't easy to find before you order. Better Business Bureau reviews from late 2025 add a newer dimension: documented cases of premium items simply not being in the box at all. Customers ordered bundles that explicitly included filet mignons and top sirloins and received boxes containing only the hot dogs, chicken, and sides. When they contacted customer service, they encountered automated systems with wait times over 150 minutes and representatives who offered refunds but not explanations. The AutoShip subscription is a separate but related issue. The introductory offer checkout flow includes enrollment language for recurring orders, technically disclosed but positioned and sized in a way that a large portion of customers don't notice until a subsequent charge appears on their statement. The BBB file on Omaha Steaks shows a consistent documented pattern of complaints about unauthorized recurring charges stretching back years. If you're ordering any mail order meat bundle, find the weight per piece before you buy. 8 filet mignons doesn't tell you if each one weighs 4 ounces or 8 ounces. At a butcher counter, a 4-ounce filet is an appetizer. An 8-ounce filet is a steak. Price per ounce is the only number that lets you honestly compare what you're getting against what you'd pay at the store. The thing that makes Omaha Steaks work as a business, the thing that keeps 3 generations of American families ordering the gift box every holiday season, is the mythology. Latvia to Nebraska, immigrants and a railroad deal. The steak that built itself on a train ride across the American West. That story is true, and it's doing an enormous amount of work to carry a product that, in 2026, looks quite different from what it was when the story was written. When Lester Simon brokered the Union Pacific deal in the 1940s, he personally hand-selected the meat for those dining cars. The company was small enough that the quality control was a person making careful, individual decisions about specific cuts. The reputation was earned cut by cut, train car by train car, on product that was genuinely exceptional. Today, Omaha Steaks ships 14 million pounds of beef per year. They generate nearly $500 million in revenue. At that volume, the personal curation that built the mythology is structurally impossible. The question isn't whether the Simons are less committed to quality. It's whether a company that size can deliver on what the story implies. The signals are consistent. A company proud of its beef grade publishes its beef grade. A company proud of its sourcing publishes where the cattle come from. A company confident in its bundle value prices items by weight and lists each piece's actual mass. None of that happens at Omaha Steaks. Not because the company is evil, but because transparency about those specifics would complicate the mythology the business is built on. The mythology of a Nebraska rancher, a master butcher, and a box of serious beef delivered to your door. The reality is, it's a $500 million direct marketing company that won't tell you the grade of meat inside the box that mythology built. How to read a mail-order steak company in 30 seconds. 3 questions on the product page. 1. What's the USDA grade? 2. Where is the beef sourced, specifically? 3. What does each piece weigh? If any of those 3 answers is missing, or replaced with a proprietary certification, a vague regional name, or a count without a weight, you know what they're not telling you and why. Subscribe, and let's learn about the beef you should be ordering. Not every mail-order beef company plays the same game. A few of them just tell you what you're buying. ButcherBox is the subscription model done right. They publish the USDA grade, choice on their grain-finished line. They tell you exactly where the beef comes from, and they answer the 3 questions without being asked. One honest disclosure worth knowing: their grass-fed, grass-finished beef comes from Australia, not the US. That's not a problem. Australian pasture-raised beef is genuinely high quality, raised on grass its entire life, never in a feedlot. But it's the kind of thing that should be on the label prominently, and they do. If you want the US grain-finished option, that's also available through their Creekstone Farms partnership, certified at Step 4 Animal Welfare. The pricing is subscription-based, the sourcing is documented, and the grade is published. That's the bar. Porter Road publishes the USDA grade on every product. The sourcing is documented. They work with specific farms in Kentucky and Tennessee and tell you which ones. The steaks are priced honestly. They cost more than an Omaha Steaks introductory bundle because the bundle isn't what it's priced as. Porter Road is. Snake River Farms is what mail-order premium beef actually looks like when the mythology matches the product. American Wagyu, USDA graded, marbling you can see before you put it on the grill. The price reflects what's in the box. You're not paying for the story, you're paying for the steak. Your local independent butcher is still the right answer for anyone within driving distance of one. Ask the grade, ask where it came from, ask how long it's been aged. If they answer all 3 without hesitating, you've found something worth buying. And you'll likely spend less per pound than Omaha Steaks' actual non-introductory pricing for a better piece of meat. The mystery in premium beef only exists when the brand needs the mystery to survive the scrutiny. A confident product doesn't hide its grade. JJ&B. A Simon came to America with a butcher's trade and built something real. The Union Pacific deal, the dining cars, the train passengers who tasted the steak and asked for more. That's a genuine origin story, and it deserves the mythology it earned. What it doesn't deserve is to carry forever a product the company won't grade, sourced from places the company won't name, bundled with items priced to disguise what you're actually getting per ounce. That's not a legacy. That's a liability dressed up as one. Comment B2E if you made it to the end. Subscribe to support us and check out the grocery store cheat sheet. In the description, it's everything we expose on this channel in one printable guide. Thanks for watching.